When I talk to my players, I sometimes tell them how I managed to reach the top 100 after being stuck between 200 and 300 in the rankings for a few years. Especially how I managed to make the step forward without really improving a single stroke. So what made the difference in the end? Perhaps we should start with what prevented me from taking the step forward. First of all, you should know that from the age of 17 I no longer had a coach, so I was completely responsible for myself. Probably unthinkable these days, but taking on more personal responsibility would be very helpful for many young players. Without a coach, I had no outside help, and some well-meant advice from outside was more annoying than helpful. Therefore, the first important realization for me was that it was more important to be aware of your own strength and abilities. And in connection with this, not to want to fit in with what other people think. I think that this is a big obstacle for many young players, simply wanting to conform and thus also giving up personal responsibility, which can of course also be convenient. If you analyze yourself, you might discover things that you don't like to admit to yourself. One part was done. After a while, I was able to analyze myself honestly and was also immune to outside influence and, more importantly, others people's opinions. The next step was to develop a strategy for my game based on this knowledge. How do I bring my strengths to the court and how do I cover up my weaknesses? I learned to recognize that tennis is not just about the strokes themselves, but about the combination of strokes and footwork in connection with body control. I learned to play more tennis out of my legs on my weakness, and combined with better body control, I was able to increasingly neutralize the weakness. After that, I had to find ways to bring my strengths into play better. As I no longer felt so vulnerable with my weakness, the stress for me on the court was much less, and I was able to free myself from defense situations and bring my strengths into play. Slowly, certain patterns emerged in my game, and I learned to work through these patterns better and better. But not only that, I was also more prepared for what was going to happen next, and I felt more and more confident on the court. It happened often that I played rallies of such a good quality that, at least at the beginning, I wondered how I was able to play them. And I was rewarded for this development, which made it possible for me to break into the top 100. I didn't really improve any of my strokes. I just learned to use my skills to the best of my ability. Of course, it took a lot of repetition and practice. And the determination not to let myself be distracted from this path because I became immune to outside opinions. But now, back to the daily events. Slava Belinsky completed another week of training in Vienna. After a long break, he is now fresh and motivated for the coming weeks. With the recent final at the Future, he has shown that he can play for victories again. It is important now that he has appropriate support at the tournaments, otherwise he is vulnerable to setbacks. Overall, he has developed well, both on the court and with the help of our fitness coach in general. Sebastian Sorga will soon have completed his basic training in the army. The swearing-in ceremony has already taken place. He will start in November with a focus on fitness. Mate Dodic had a small fitness block in Zagreb, and we will meet again next week at the tournament. Yuri Rodionov started his Asian Challenger Tour in Seoul, South Korea. The preparation went very well. Now we are trying to use the last few weeks of the year to bring home good results. With victories against Uchida and in the second round against Shimabukuro, the journey started well for Yuri. It was obvious to me that Yuri was trying to bring the experience gained in practice into the match. And to be rewarded with victories is all the more pleasing. I will report on the rest of the week in my next video. I also have a longer journey ahead of me. More about that as well in the next video. Thank you for your interest.